Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's 4:30, so we're going to get started. I know everybody probably has more to do regarding the holidays and everything else, but thank you for joining us today, for those of you who did. If you have friends that are not joining us today, please know that this is being recorded, and then we will have it posted to the base page on apfa.org. Okay, so I want to welcome everyone and let me make some introductions. If we could have the following, put yourself on camera so that they can see who you are. So Mitch Hake is our base vice president. So he's on board with us. We have Ryan Allen, who's one of our base council reps. We also have Jackie Zapata, Garzo, who's also one of our base council reps. So we're very thankful to have everybody on here. We're going to go over several things. Mitch, can you put up the agenda? Can you share that screen?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay. And we're going to be looking at several things that have been coming to our attention lately and see so everybody can be informed. At the end, we will go ahead and take questions. So if you have any questions, write them down and then you can pose the questions to us afterwards. Let me add these people in. And we will get started. Are you okay? So we'll get started. Okay, so first up, did you figure out the agenda or no?
Still working on it. It's like everything's grayed out, so I don't know if it's because it's not my meeting.
I don't know. All right, so we'll just go read through here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the company restructured. And now we don't have one manager, we don't have two managers, we have three managers. So Ryan is going to explain what each manager's job is and who you should go to which manager to get things accomplished or get the information that you need. Ryan?
All right, so first, where you find your manager is on Crew Portal. Once you click on your name, it'll list your attendance manager, your performance manager, and your senior manager. It'll have their contact information as well. So the first two are pretty self-explanatory. Attendance, you'll reach out to them for anything to do with late reports or attendance matters, personal days, stuff like that. They share an email. It's PHL CAM at AA.com. And then your performance manager is going to be the one that basically calls you in for meetings. So if you get customer complaints or you get any kind of missed assignment for your WBTs or your maybe you lost your EFB, something like that, you're going to get called in by your performance manager. Your senior manager is the one that you'll probably never really interact with unless you need something done. So if you have maybe a commuter city or something that you need done with your work profile, you're going to reach out to them. Basically, anything that's not contractual, you'll reach out to your senior manager. Anything that's contractual, you'll reach out to us. If you have questions about the contract, you'll reach out to us and we can help you. But if it's anything that's not having to do with the contract, you're going to reach out to your senior manager and have them deal with it.
So your senior manager, sorry to interrupt, would deal with passport questions, pay questions, early boarding violation questions, things along those lines.
Yeah, we can't technically get involved until there's an impasse with the company. So you have to reach out to the senior manager first, and then once they are useless, then you reach out to us.
All right, so Ryan's going to take the next thing as well. When is it appropriate then to reach out and call the union?
So let's say that you have you didn't get boarding pay or you didn't get voluntary extension pay. You're going to file a direct connect and then you're going to get denied. That's when you reach out to us. You don't reach out to us before. Basically, the company has to say no to you. And then you reach out to us and then we take it from there. But we can't help you until the company says no.
The other thing as well is everyone, regardless of if you're on probation, you're not on probation, is entitled to union representation. So if you get called in for any type of a meeting, call us and let us go in there with you because that protects you.
Yeah, if we're not in there in the meeting, we can't address that meeting later. So if something comes later, like let's say you have a second violation and they bring up that meeting, we can't say anything about it because we weren't there. But as far as meeting goes, my biggest pet peeve, please let us know as soon as you schedule that meeting, please.
All pet peeves.
I'm tired of getting calls in the morning saying I have a meeting in half an hour. I can't help you. I have 7 or 8 meetings today. I can't go there in half an hour.
All right, Ryan, do you want to go on and talk about the information available on the APFA website?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that the APFA website was reorganized either last year or maybe the year before, but there's so much good information on there. There's resources section is really good, and on the job section is really good. There's a lot of rescheduling that happens because, you know, Dallas falls apart when there's a cloud in the sky. So um, look at that stuff. You know, it lays it out if you're rescheduled before you're called or after you're called or in the middle of a segment, something like that. Um, my favorite section is under the resources tab. There's the DEX codes. Anytime you're removed from a trip, it'll tell you the code and it'll tell you if it's paid, if it's paid protected, if you can double dip, stuff like that. So there's so much good information on that website now. Any question you might have is on there. Please check it out.
Okay, all right, now we're going to give you a little overview of what have we done so far this year, like a year in review, and what we're currently working on. So to put it in perspective, we went ahead and we took a tally, and as of today's date for 2025, we've participated in 791 meetings. Attendance meetings, performance meetings, HR meetings, but it's been 791. That's an average of 3 to 5 meetings per day. We have meetings Monday through Friday, and they last anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, depending on the nature of why you're in their meeting. So if we mention, we'll call you back, but we're in meetings all day today, it's no lie. 791 is a lot. I think that's a record for us right now. But the company is definitely changing their tune and they're addressing everything. So please be aware of that. One of the big base nods that we filed is over scope. So in reading the latest update about unaccompanied minors, the scope of a flight attendant is caring for our passengers on board the aircraft. The unaccompanied minor language now and the policies that the company has put into place, we have to get off the aircraft and walk them to the top if nobody meets the airplane. If you're coming in on an IPD flight or NIPD, you may have to escort them through customs and immigration. And God help us, if something happens with irregular operations and it's not an AA station, there's language in there that says that the child comes to the hotel with you. That is not going to happen. That's so far outside of our scope. So we filed the nod, and that's currently in Dallas with the national vice president. So we're waiting to hear what happens with that. But I think that's an important one because scope is something that you never want to touch. You want to keep the language as is. It protects us that nobody else can perform flight attendant duties except another flight attendant on our seniority list. So huge, super importance. I will say this, out of all the nods that we filed this year, 80% of them, for the most part, we've gotten the discipline reduced or removed. So we've been very successful with that. I'm very proud of that. We'll continue to work on it. We'll continue to try and get this stuff taken care of, but it's a marathon, not a sprint, that's for sure. I want to touch on the difference between ethics point and professional standards. So ethics point is you can file it anonymously or you can file it under your own name, and that goes straight to HR. Professional standards, you call and it's a union representative and we keep it in-house and they address the flight attendant for whatever behavior or situation you're having an issue with. The only 2 reasons that we would ever advocate that you should go straight to ethics point is number 1, nobody's allowed to lay their hands on you without your permission. If they do, whether it's sexually, aggressively, whatever the reason, they are not allowed to do that. Number two is harassment. If you're being harassed in the workplace based on ethnicity, religion, politics, anything, that is
Sexual
also not
orientation.
tolerated. Absolutely not tolerated. So everything else, you don't like how somebody set up the cart, you don't like because this one guy, that should all be funneled through professional standards. Because we have to be very careful. When you start going straight to the company to report people, you're also letting the company know that you can't manage your professional life. So it has to be something significant and something that matters. So I tell this story all the time. Flight attendant 1 used to date flight attendant 2, who's now dating flight attendant 4, and they're all on the same trip together. That is not an ethics point. That is definitely a professional standards issue, because that resulted in over 10 hours of HR meetings where they flew an investigator to Philly to talk to these people. So just be mindful of that. We really want people to start at pro standards. And then if you fly with them again and they're not listening, that's another story, but please start there. So the phone number for pro standards, if you don't have it, is 833-214-2002. And I'll put this in the chat as well. 833-214-2 standards. Okay. And that number also houses our CERP team, critical incident response, and also our EAP line. So you can reach out to them at either thing there. The next thing we have, Montego Bay cancellations. Huh. That has been a thorn in our side. So since the hurricane, they're still canceling Montego Bay turns, the 1 days. 10J1 little b is the section in the contract. To be pay protected, you have to lose 3 or more sequences before you fall into that bucket of being pay protected. And then to be pay protected, you have to bid like sequences, all positions. So if you don't like to fly number 1 and you bid any day turn that's NIPD, but you don't bid number 1, they're going to kick it out. You're not going to be pay protected. So 10J1 little b, please be familiar with that if you fall into those buckets. We've been informed that if you fly internationally, they've been very lenient if you forget to bring your passport with you or your ID. As of now, they're not going to deal with that anymore. That's not going to be acceptable. So if you're flying an IPD trip and you don't have your passport or you don't have your ID with you, they're going to immediately remove you from the trip and mark you as QD, meaning your documents have made you not qualified. That means you get removed from the trip and you are not paid for the trip. So please be mindful that you have your required items when you show up, especially if you're traveling internationally. This next one is talking about the Department of Transportation drug testing, the random drug testing. We're seeing more and more mistakes that the company's drug and alcohol program is making. The paperwork is not correct. The dates are not correct. The person's name or testing center is not correct. So if you get called to do a random drug test, please do not leave that testing site without your paperwork. Double check it. Do not sign anything unless that paperwork is completely filled out by the tester. If you have a shy bladder, because that's a real thing, shy bladder, and you can't produce a sample, please go online to JetNet. There are specific steps that you need to take within a specific time frame for that to be valid. Like I said, we're seeing more and more mistakes, and it's actually terrifying because this is our careers that they're messing with. And the company's inability to manage that program cannot end up with us losing our careers. So please be mindful. The testers want to get in and out. do not let them test you in a public restroom. I would never do that because number one, they're supposed to clear the restroom because maybe it's closer. You came into the end of A West and nobody wants to walk all the way to B6. However, they don't sanitize the areas before you do the test. So for all you know, somebody did something on that countertop and now it's contaminating your sample, right? So please, I can't stress enough how to be mindful with that and watch your P's and Q's and make sure that you're not signing anything unless the paperwork is completed and you are not walking out of there without a copy of the paperwork. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, crew rooms. Our crew rooms are getting remodeled finally. Yay! But what comes with that is they're going to be remodeling and restructuring how the spaces are used. So I'm sure you've seen communications that they're auditing the bag rooms and the bag shelves. If you have anything that's housing your personal things that is not a zippered suitcase or a zippered closed tote bag, they are going to flag it for disposal. So no more market bags, shopping bags, no more, tents, no more air mattresses, none of that, because the crew room is not a hotel. It's, for you to unpack, repack, do whatever you're doing there. But if you don't have the manila tag on there with your name, employee number, and phone number, keep an eye out because I've been told that they're putting a big red X on the tag to notify you that your bag has been marked for disposal. For some reason, it doesn't meet the criteria. But if you're going to keep bags in the crew room, zippered suitcase or a zippered tote bag, period. Those are the only two acceptable bags. Once they do bring the dumpsters out and they decide to throw things away, they'll throw them into the dumpster and keep them there for a day or two, which is not a lot of time. And then they'll go ahead and dispose of them if nobody has claimed any of the stuff there. But right now, please make sure your bags are tagged and that you know what type of bag you have to have in there. If you have any questions, anybody in N-Flight can answer that. All right, Mitch, do you want to talk about the quarterly WBTs?
Yes, quarterly WBTs. The Q3 WBT this year was the first WBT that American decided to put flight or airplane qualification material in. So we are now seeing them, instead of putting these qualifications into CQ modules or actual CQ in person, they are now putting them into the 4 quarterly WBTs. That being said, if you don't complete the WBT on time, they could potentially make you go QI and not be qualified on that aircraft. We saw that with the Q3 with a new Airbus XLR that we're supposed to be getting here soon. The company made it very clear to all of these flight attendants that were affected, and there was a ton of them affected by not doing them on time, that one, we're going to give you heavy discipline for not doing it on time, and two, we could have just pulled you off your entire schedule, got rid of all your trips, and you would have lost all your pay for the month for not doing it on time. So they've changed how they're handling missed assignments to where if you didn't do the WBT on time, you got a letter that said, hey, you didn't do it on time, get it done. And then that was it. Now they're sending you a letter every week that you don't have it done. And each of these letters is counting as a new missed assignment. So at your 4th missed assignment, the training support desk will give you a call personally and say, what's going on? You need to have this done. And then management will also be calling you for your mandatory meeting. And the discipline has been very consistent and very heavy. And we've tried to argue it, and flight attendants have very good reasons for not doing it on time with what's going on in their personal life. Unfortunately, American doesn't care. It's been a battle these last 2 weeks. I think we've probably done 20 or 30 meetings about the WBTs, and it's gotten ugly. So
Very
that
true.
that segues us into the email notification. So you don't have to check your company email when you're not at work, when you're on vacation, when you're on your days off. You can forget about it. When you're at work or when you check in for your first flight of your sequence, please, please, please check your company email. If there's any type of important communication between your manager and yourself, they will send it to email. They should be calling as well and sending a message, but unfortunately, we haven't been seeing that. They're sending the mandatory meeting letter. Flight attendants aren't seeing it. They check your schedule. They see that you flew, and now they're mad at you for ghosting them. And why are you not responding to the mandatory meeting letter? So now you have to not only talk about whatever your meeting's for, but you have to talk about why you're not checking your company email and why you're not communicating. So it's a double-edged sword. So please, please, please check your company email when you're at work. You don't have to check it when you're not at work. You don't have to answer their phone call when you're not at work. But when you're physically on the clock for American, they expect you to do it. So we do try to tell everyone now when you first, when you sync comply, when you sign in for the day, just take a look at the email. I know a lot of it's junk and there's 60 emails in there from Jetwire about stuff that's completely irrelevant, but there might be that one message from your supervisor saying, hey, we need to talk. And the longer you go without actually making contact with the supervisor, the worse it usually ends up being. And
Okay.
SIRS reports. Yeah, SIRS reports and FA reports. That goes to, unfortunately, we're in a day and age to where every time a passenger looks at you funny on board the aircraft, you need to do a SIRS report for it. We go into these meetings and there's things that go wrong on board the aircraft. And the one question they ask in every single meeting, did you file a SIRS report? And the answer most times is no, I did not file a SIRS report. Obviously, a SIRS needs
takes their word over yours.
Yes. Yes. If you do the SIRS report and you do the SIRS report in a timely manner, they will look at it. They should pull it on time. That's a whole nother argument. And then they show up to the meeting. They have your SIRS report, which validates your statement that you're going to give in any type of investigation. If you show up, you don't do the SIRS report, they're going to believe the passenger over you. That's the culture that American is cultivating right now, to where you're guilty until proven innocent at this point. But if you have the SIRS, it most definitely helps everyone. It helps us, it helps you. And we do see the discipline end up being very minuscule for people that actually go ahead and do it. Let's say you don't do it within the timeline, within the 24 hours from international or from the event. Just do it. It doesn't matter. As long as you get it done, you get it done. It's gonna help out drastically in the bigger picture. And same thing with FA reports. If you are on the airplane and you don't have pretzels, so you don't serve pretzels, and then a passenger complains to American that I was never offered a pretzel, and you go into the meeting and you say, yeah, we didn't serve pretzels because I didn't have pretzels. Well, did you do an FA report that said you didn't have pretzels? Well, no. Well, then we can't prove that you didn't have pretzels. Here's your discipline. Have a good day. And then it's very impossible on our side to argue it too. But with these documents, it gives leverage for us in these meetings to advocate for the flight attendant, as well as the flight attendant advocating for themselves. So please, I know sometimes it's a waste of time. If you write everything up from catering, you're going to have 600 reports a month. These reports do get sent to catering. I don't know what they do with them when they get it. It seems like they just ignore it. But they do get sent over there. And we really hope that they take into consideration the stuff that we're writing up, but that's a whole nother caveat.
The switch in management, everything comes from Dallas. All of these people are not working flights. They don't know. So they're coming up with these rules and these disciplines based on papers, like they don't work these flights. So we need backup.
And I will add to this, I've been told from at least here in Philly that they have a new man who's in charge of catering right now here in Philly. And when he gets reports that we fill out from the flight attendant reports, he contacts the caterers. They have 24 hours to respond back to him with the reason why it happened. So they're starting to respond to all of those now, which is kind of nice to see. At least it's a step in the right direction. It's not
Baby
all that they
steps.
should be doing, but yeah, baby steps is for sure.
Yeah. I think they
Thanks,
just said,
Midge.
didn't they tell us too? They just bought a couple new catering trucks as well to park out on the ramp in
Yeah, they
case
did.
during IROPS. So they're slowly making improvements to it. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's
Right. They just need to pick up the pace.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're going to shift gears to union outreach and action. Jackie?
So speaking of catering, I'm gonna drop a little graphic in the chat. So we just got word today that LSG Sky Chefs, which is our catering in Philly, they are working towards getting a new contract. They're having a action this Saturday at Terminal B. It's going to be at 2 p.m. I put the little graphic in there. It looks really small, but segueing into that, you can follow us also on Instagram. And that's where we kind of share all these like labor union outreach updates. So if you want to join us at these pickets, you can follow us on Instagram for more information. We also have a Signal chat, which is an application that is encrypted end to end. So nothing can be leaked or anything like that. And then we talk about any solidarity, things going on around Philadelphia, not just concerning our industry. Some of the things that we've been able to do with the Signal chat are we've attended the No Kings rally. We got a couple of flight attendants to join us there. That was great. We were also at the May Day parade back in May with some flight attendants representing APFA. And another picket coming up, which is tomorrow. It's for the PSA flight attendants. They're also in contract negotiations. And so they're having a picket tomorrow in Terminal B also. And it'll be at 11 a.m. I do have a graphic. I don't know where it went, but I will post it in the chat too. And then all this information is also on Instagram. You can DM us there if you have any questions about it. And let's see, what else do I have here? Last thing, I know it's like the holidays and, you know, passengers like to give us their little like Starbucks gift cards, but Starbucks is still on strike. They have, they secured their union, but the company has not been negotiating in good faith. So they still don't have a contract. So they are on strike. That's nationwide. In Philly specifically, there's like a couple of locations that are union, some are not. And so we've been supporting them. We went out to one of their rallies at City Hall to support them. So all they're asking for from us right now is to not buy Starbucks at any location. No airport, no Target Starbucks, no, you know, brick and mortar locations, nothing like that. And then we just recently shared on the Instagram also, there's a crowd fund for the baristas that are on strike in Philadelphia if anybody wants to go out there and support. And yeah, if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Thanks, Jackie.
Yeah.
Okay, couple more things I want to touch on. Please read your CCI messages. They're putting out a ton of information on the 321 XLR, which is great because as we know, Philly got dumped with the 9P with no direction whatsoever. So I think through all the discussions we've been having with Bobby Wells and her team, they're finally listening. And they have galley diagrams and they've done service things with it. And so I'm not expecting the XLR to roll out for us the way the 9P did. It's going to be a much better experience, which is good. Position sheets. If you look in your service manual, and this is important because I'm hoping it'll cut down on some of the crew conflicts. In our previous airline, US Air, we used to have these position sheets and they were pads of paper for each position that you worked. So if you were working position F, for instance, because we went by letters, you would go in the crew room and tear off the sheet for position F, and it would list everything that you had to do. This is pre-departure, this is during the demo, this is during service or working the beverage cart facing aft in the coach cabin. So Bobby Wells apparently loves checklists with her military background. So now in the service manual, you can do that same thing. So you can click on whatever market it is that you're working, especially with IPD, and you can click on the position and it now spells out exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So we're hoping that will cut down on the conflict of people arguing over what they are supposed to be doing, because now it's in black and white in the tablet. So just be mindful of that so that you know that. For those of you who don't know, we actually have an office under A17 by the crew room, which is where I am right now. We're in a little dungeon down here.
Bring
When you
hot
come off the,
chocolate.
yeah, when you come off the elevator, turn right and wind around that hallway, and you can't miss us. We've got flight attendant and union signs all over the front door. But we do have an office number, and I will put that on here. 3115 in the chat. Philly Union office. And the reason that this is important is we're seeing an uptick of people who are calling the national numbers in Dallas to get a hold of us here in Philly. And the problem with that is when Dallas gets the notification, it can take them weeks, even months to pass the information to us. We just got a contact form the other day that was from July, and then we got it in November. So the fastest way to get a hold of us is to call us on that office number. You can call or text. And if you're asking questions, please include your employee number and we will get back to you as soon as we can. So if
And
we're caught
Tracy
up
will
in those
answer that number.
791 meetings, we will get back to you as soon as we have some time. But
Tracy
that's
will
the
answer that
quickest way
number
to get ahead of us.
24/7.
What's that?
I said Tracy will answer that number at 3:00 in the morning, so you guys are good.
Not necessarily. Okay, so I think that's about everything that we wanted to get out to you, which is great. We're right on time. It took a half an hour. So I want to open it up to any questions that anybody has. So Peter, I said, so dealing
Yep.
with passenger issues, we should file a SIRS under disruptive passenger, even if we were not technically disruptive or the flight attendant. Yes, absolutely. And the other piece of it too is if you are working a flight and the captain says, don't get up till I tell you to get up, or they say stay seated during the flight, you have to fill out that SIRS under turbulence. Because the passenger who writes the letter, they didn't give us anything to drink for 2 hours. This is your backup to protect yourself. Well, the captain told us there was turbulence and not to get up. But
Just
without
tag me,
that,
Tracy.
it's harder. So just make sure that you do that. Disruptive passengers, yes. They give you the stink eye, absolutely. Any other questions? I know
Brent,
it's a
you
lot.
have
This,
one.
Trying to think of anything else that's been coming up that we missed, that we didn't hit.
yeah, I don't, those were the big things that were in there.
Yeah.
Just for kicks and giggles, we did approximately 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We did 9 inducts where new flight attendants came last year to Philly. We were participated in 4 CISDs, which are the critical incident debrief sessions. And our last base meeting was June. So we're twice a year right now. We are scheduled to get new hires in 2026. So that's good news. We don't know how many yet, but that will be good, especially for our more junior people. So that's great. And what else came up? Any current issues AA is throwing at those of us ready to retire? No, just know that Robert Isom is an analyst by trade. Did we leave on time? Did we get in on time? Did we lose anybody's bags, right? So it's not that they're throwing things at us when you're close to retirement, but when you go in there and you have 40 years of a squeaky clean record, they're not taking that into account as much as they should when the passenger complaint comes in, or when something else happens, or if you leave your EFB, or a uniform noncompliance. So as much as we know that our record means to us, the company is not seeing it like that right now. The company's like, well, that's too bad, but this time you stepped outside the lines and you have to answer for it.
Yep.
So are they going after people to retire? Not necessarily, but they're certainly not taking into account what your work ethic is when they're trying to do this.
They're trying to preach consistency across the board. We don't care if you've been here for 55 years, or we don't care if you've been here for 1 month. Discipline's discipline, and you're going to get the same thing no matter what. And they'll give you your time to talk about it, but at the end of the day, sometimes just nothing can be done for it.
So the other question is, are there any movement on allowing tattoos? Nope, not at this time. Unequivocally, no. American Airlines in 2025 is still one of the most conservative entities that's out there. And nose piercings, tattoos, weird hair colors or non-traditional hair colors, they are not budging on any of that. Which also brings me to the uniform policy. They just recently sent out a CCI message about adhering to the uniform policies, because let's face oh my gosh, I'm choking on myself. Let's face it, that during COVID, you could show up to work dressed as an orangutan and nobody cared. Now they're trying to get back because they're tired of people comparing them to the worst airline in the world. So uniform compliance is a thing. Whenever you are in public view, you are expected to be in complete uniform compliance. If you are not, regardless of the person next to you is wearing army boots to work, if they see you, they're going to address it with you, and they're trying to rein that in and get people back. So just be mindful of that. So women, wear your scarves. Men, make sure you check your facial hair, and like you said, tattoos, things for women, men, everything else. But we can wear boots now. That was a change. Okay. Anybody else? Speak up now. Well, like I said, the meeting was taped. It was recorded. So we'll get that out on the APFA website probably by the end of next week. And then if somebody was not able to be here and wants to be in the know, they can go ahead and get there. And you are very welcome, unknown user. All right, we're going to close this so everybody can go back to getting ready for their holidays. It was a pleasure. I'm glad you took the time to join us. And if you need anything, we're here in A17 in the office. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thanks.
Good day.